Hello students. So today I am starting the fifth module of Geotechnical Engineering 2, that is the pile foundations. So just before starting pile foundations, let us just have a brief introduction on the foundations. Already I have taken you the portions regarding the shallow foundations. So moving on to the introduction. So we know that foundations are structural components which transfer the load to the soil. So already we have discussed about the shallow foundations. Now also we have discussed about the caissons, about the theoretical aspect of caissons in deep foundations. And pile foundation is another aspect coming under the deep foundation. So what is the need of pile foundation? So when you have large loads, structural loads coming onto the soil, and this capacity of the underlying soil is very weak, and you have to transfer it to a harder strata or the better soil below that weak soil, obviously you need to have a slender element or a long foundation depth uh, to transfer the load. So in such cases we go for a pile foundation. So here in this figure you can see that the structural load is transferred through the pile cap. I will explain what is a pile cap. It is nothing but just it combines all the slender elements together, and then you build the column over the pile cap. Then the entire building load is taken by that column. Okay. So this load is transferred to this pile cap, and from the pile cap it moves to the pile, and the entire load is finally transmitted to the tip of this pile, which is having a high density soil or high density strata. It can be either even rock. So what is the need of pile foundation actually? So you can go through these points, but generally why we using pile foundation? First thing is when you have a very weak soil underneath the structure. Second is where you need a high, that is shallow depths. The foundation of shallow depth cannot provide you that much strength to the structure. Also, in order to avoid excessive settlement and also the lateral movement of the structure. So all these aspects, when we collectively, when we require such situations, we go for pile foundation. So what is the importance, what is the major significance of having this pile foundation is that even if the layer is very weak, it can be the load can be transferred through the slender pile element to the rock or the hard strata below. So already I've explained this part, so just go through these points. Now here you can see in this figure what is actually a pile foundation. It is a slender structural member, can be steel, concrete, or even timber. So it is installed to transfer the loads coming onto the structure at a significant depth such that you find the hard strata. So we have seen that shallow foundations of 2 meter, 3 meter, or even raft of like 3-4 meters, mat foundations, etc. But whenever you have to transfer the load to greater depths, like say 30 meter, 40 meter and all, then you definitely go for pile foundations. So here just showing a sketch of how the piles are constructed and how it is transferring the load. So here you can see weak soil. This yellow color is a weak soil, and this is the column on which the entire building load is transferred. From the column it is moving to the pile cap, and all the load on the pile cap is then transferred to the slender elements, and they ultimately the entire load is transferred to this bearing stratum, load bearing stratum. It can be rock or any other hard strata. So same sketch is shown here also. So the thing is, one major thing is when large loads are to be transferred, then only you have to go for pile, because it is an expensive construction, and also it is time consuming compared to the normal shallow foundations, mat foundation or route foundation. Now what are the functions of various piles? So as with other types of foundations, the main purpose is to transmit load, or also to resist the vertical, that is the compressive load, and the lateral movements, as well as the uplift load coming from the structure. And based on material, it can be divided as timber, classified as timber, concrete, steel, and composite materials. Now, what are the uses of piles? So, First, I have already mentioned that when heavy loads are coming, you have to go for pile foundation. Then the soil is very poor, then also you have to go for pile foundation. And also you have a high level of groundwater table, and it is difficult to pump out the water and construct the foundations. Then also you can go for pile foundation. Also there is subsoil, the water level is fluctuating in the subsoil, and then the trenches, the timbering of the trenches or sheet piling becomes very difficult for huge trenches. Then you can go for pile foundations. Also for the coastal regions, if you construct any structure, then obviously you have to go for pile foundations. Then for canals or deep drainage lines, also when the topsoil is expansive in nature, obviously if you have a clay stratum to a greater depths, then you have to go for pile foundations. And also used for transmission towers, offshore platforms, etc., where uplift forces are experienced. So here we know that in Cochin, the Kochi Metro Rail project, the entire piers were constructed on huge piles. Like the pile diameter is also very large, and also it extended up to depth of 80-90 meters. So you know that that till 90-meter, the soil in most of the area in Cochin is like weak soil, that is marine clay deposits. So as a result, in order to transfer the entire load to the rock or to a hard strata, they have adopted the pile foundation technique. So you know in which conditions actually we have to adopt such techniques. So here it is a case of uplift structure. When you know that the transmission towers are very tall and they are subjected to wind loading, etc., and even sometimes seismic load. So when they are subjected to such, also this tower, due to its large slender structure, it can have uplift pressure on the foundation. So for that, in order to counter that uplift force, we can construct the piles in order to resist the uplift pressure. So generally, for any building, normal building, the load coming from the building is a compressive load. So we are constructing it for the compressive loads. But we, in special cases, we have to construct piles to counter the uplift as well as the lateral loading coming onto the piles. In this module, you have to concentrate more on the compressive part, that is the piles subjected to compressive loading. Now moving on to the applications, here already these things were mentioned, but still I am telling you, whenever the weight of the structure coming onto the soil is very low, then obviously you can go for a isolated footing, or even you can go for mat foundation, strip footing, etc. For example, you are going to construct a small house on, even if it is a soft clay, you can have a mat foundation so that you can avoid the differential settlement, etc. All these aspects were discussed in the previous module. But when the load is coming on, when large area the load is coming, or if you have a very concentrated load, then in such cases you cannot go for such shallow foundations, in especially when the soil is weak. Even if the soil is considerably strong, you will have to adopt a technique such that the entire load is transferred to a very hard strata like a rock. Why? Because whenever any such structural movements, like some changes in the soil, it happens, it can be due to earthquake or any other reasons, then the building is completely supported on the rock. That means intact rock, the building is connected to the hard strata or rock by means of this long slender element called the pile. So the entire structure will not be affected by any changes going in the weak soil. Either it is the effect of water table, or it is the effect due to any seismic activities. Whatever activities happening, the building will not be affected. Now, what are the factors which affect the selection of piles? So various factors govern the selection of the type of pile you are going to choose, such as the nature of structure, the type of loading coming onto the structure, the availability of fund. If you have enough money, you can go for deep piles, you can go for a huge diameter concrete piles. But if the funds are less, then you will go for other cheaper options, like you can go for timber piles, you can go for hollow steel piles, etc. Then the availability of materials as well as the equipments used based on the type of soil properties, also the groundwater table, the self-weight of the pile, durability, cost, maintenance, length, number of piles, the facilities available. All these and finally the presence of acids and other materials in soil that would injure the pile. So these are the various aspects which you have to collectively consider while selecting the type of piles. Now, based on function, what are the various piles? You are having the end bearing piles, the friction piles, sheet piles, the tension or uplift pile, anchor pile, batter pile, fender pile, compaction pile. I will go into detail of each of these types of piles. Then moving on to the classification based on material, you have timber piles, concrete piles, composite piles, steel piles, as well as sand piles. Based on the material you have here, you can see how the timber pile, it is normally, you can even use the coconut tree as a timber pile. It is a very strong timber pile in places like Kuttanad and all. Even the concrete tree is used as a timber pile, or even you can use any other tree which is strong enough to take the load of the structure as a timber pile. Then obviously the steel pipe and steel edge pipes are piles are basically used for coastal areas. You can effectively use this steel pipes and edge piles. Then the concrete pile, and comes the precast concrete. Then finally the composite piles. In composite piles, what actually you do is you encase the steel. First, one type of pile is you are encasing the steel edge pile with concrete from the outer, or you can fill this steel tube with steel pipe with concrete. So then it becomes a composite pile. That is a composition of two different material. Here it is steel and concrete. Also, you can say even the normal reinforced concrete piles where we install the caging in the concrete, that is also a composite pile because it has concrete as well as steel reinforcement. Now, based on the method of installation, you have driven piles. Driven piles means you cast the pile in any plant and then you bring to the site and drive it. Driven and cast in situ pile means you cast the pile on the site itself and then you drive that pile. Bored cast in situ means you remove all the soil, then with the help of auger you remove the soil for a particular diameter and for a depth, and then you install the caging, reinforcement caging, then you fill the concrete. That is bored cast in situ. The entire process is in the site itself. Then comes the screw pile and jack pile. So in this model we are more concentrating on driven piles and bored piles. How will you design the driven pile as well as the bored pile? So based on function, first one is the end bearing piles. So what is end bearing pile? So in end bearing pile, you have a soft stratum around the pile, and the entire load coming on the pile is transferred to the hard strata. Here you have a rock, and the soft material just gives some lateral support to the pile. So that is the end bearing. And when you what are the cases where you use friction piles? Friction piles are used when you have the soft material to a large strata and the construction of piles is quite uneconomical, that you can't go for such a greater depth till you find the rock. In such cases you will have to go for friction piles when hard strata is available only at a large depth. So you go for friction pile. That means the load is the load coming onto the pile is countered by the frictional resistance of the surrounding soil. So just a sketch showing how the load is transferred. See here, the entire building load is transferred to the bedrock from the pile, and in friction pile you can see here there is no bedrock at the bottom, and all the load coming from the structure is transferred using the frictional resistance around the pile and the soil. Next is compaction pile. Compaction piles are actually used in granular soil to densify the soil. Here the pile actually will not carry any load. The piles, the precast piles are just inserted or just driven into this loose granular soil just to densify the surrounding soil. So this the soil gets more compacted and the soil is strengthened by this compaction piles. Next is tension pile. Already I have explained which are the cases where we use tension piles. Where there is hydrostatic pressure, or also where for tall structures, slender tall structures like the transmission towers, etc., there is a chance of overturning of that structure. So in order to resist the overturning, we provide the tension pile or called the uplift pile. Now, fender piles. Fender piles are generally a group of pile or even a single piles system which is constructed on the offshore, where the shocks coming from the vehicles, vessels which are embarked on the uh, jetties like the ships, etc. When they impact on that coast, there will be damage to the structure. So in order to protect the structure, we construct this fender piles. Next is sheet piles. Sheet piles is actually continuous, act as a continuous wall to retain either the earth or to retain the water while we are constructing within the sheet pile. So generally we go for sheet pile when we don't have enough space around the space for excavation and we need a large cutting. Then we construct a sheet pile. Here you can see how deep the cut is, and it is a vertical cut. So in order to support the soil, sheet piles are provided. And most commonly we use steel sheet piles for construction. Here I can show you the cross section of various sheet piles. This is the type of cross section, and this is a single piece, and we interlock these pieces together to have a continuous wall. Now anchor piles are generally provided to uh, resist the horizontal pulling force coming from the sheet piles or any other pulling forces. For example, if a retaining wall is trying to fall down and you need to pull that retaining wall. Why the retaining wall is falling? We have already studied the retaining structures. Where there is, if there is an unstable soil, it will try to push the retaining wall. So in such cases, if the retaining wall is failing, we can stabilize that retaining wall by uh, construction of anchor piles. So you can either drive the anchor piles, or even you can construct, you can jet the concrete to form the anchor piles. So not go into the details. So that is the role of anchor pile, where it resists the pulling force coming from the either retaining wall or sheet piles, etc. So that is all about various types of piles. Now moving on to the installation method. Generally, the commonly used installation methods, first one is the driven piles, and second one is the board piles. So driven piles, already I told you, it is casted in the plant, some precast plants, or even in the site if sufficient space is available. And board piles are generally, we construct the piles right there in the site. So based on this type of pile, the behavior of pile mainly largely depend on how you construct this pile. So driven piles, actually I already explained what is a compaction pile. So driven pile also have the same purpose. That is, you drive this pile for a smaller space. If the pile spacing is kept smaller, and the pile diameter also won't be large, not that large in case of driven piles. So you drive these piles, and also it won't go to large depths. And you drive these piles by means of some pile driving machinery. Then it will try to displace the soil laterally. That is why this pile is called a displacement pile. And in the process of this displacement, it will also compact the surrounding soil. And the zone of compaction usually extend about 2 times the diameter of the pile in the downward direction, and also 1 times the diameter around the pile. So in the process, this displacement pile not only takes the load coming from the superstructure, it also improves the surrounding soil strata due to this compaction or displacement. That means there is a rearrangement of the surrounding soil strata. So here you can see some examples of driven piles. These are all small piles. Here it is steel H piles which are driven here in this case. Here it's concrete piles. So pile driving is, as the method seems to be very simple, there are a lot of risks associated with it, because we have to properly align this precast pile, and the hammer must be well in position, and it is this process, it should be done meticulously to have the complete advantage. So this is how we drive this pile, how the precast pile is kept in position. This is the pile head, which is always tapered so that you can drive it easily. Then you drop the hammer on top of the pile, and this is how it is installed. But whenever you go for such kinds of piles in some soft place, so generally this process is good in granular layer where the displacement of the soil can compact the surrounding soil. But if you go for such displacement piles in clay soils, then what happens is that the adjacent clay soil get remolded, and the strength of the remolded zone will be less compared to the previous situation. So generally in such cases we have to go for open-ended piles, pipe piles, or steel edge piles, which I have shown here. This is a steel edge pile as shown here. So usually for clay strata, or if you go for even offshore constructions, it is always better to go for steel edge piles. Now comes the board pile or non-displacement pile. So a board pile is nothing but you just scoop the soil by any boring technique. You can use augers. I will show the picture of auger and why it is, for what it is used. And then the entire soil is scooped out, and then you install the reinforcement cage, then you fill the concrete. So that is called bored piles. While boring, in order to stabilize the surrounding soil, in order to protect the soil from falling inside that borehole, we stabilize it by some thick drilling fluid. Usually bentonite slurry is used. You can search about bentonite, what are the properties of bentonite, etc. But the slurry must be properly controlled, because if this drilling fluid it is too much, you are keeping on applying the drilling fluid, what happens is that it will soften the surrounding strata and reducing the frictional resistance. So that part also is very important. Also, the bottom of the borehole must be properly cleaned. You must make sure all the debris is removed from the tip. Otherwise, what will happen? The end bearing resistance will be reduced, because this, instead of concrete, the concrete will be mixed with this debris at the bottom, and as a result, the end bearing resistance will be reduced. So for that, we do a process called flushing. Using this bentonite slurry, we flush out all the impurities in the borehole. Ultimately, the entire color, the whatever slurry is going inside, that slurry color will change when the material, the debris is flushed out. So until the color remains same, that means the whatever going inside is coming, the same thing is coming outside. You make sure that the entire debris is removed. So that flushing, after only the flushing, you have to start pouring the concrete. That means you install the caging, and then you start pouring the concrete using the trummy pipes. You can check YouTube for various videos of board cast in situ piles, and they properly, very beautifully, many videos are there where the entire process is explained. Even driven piles also you can search in YouTube. So this is a auger used for drilling. This is the kind of auger which is used to drill the soil out, and then we start constructing the pile. Now moving on to the steps involved. Already I explained, just to show, just have a pictorial view. So here we use temporary guide casing, because you must be very sure about the diameter of the pile. So you need a casing because you are not sure about the soil. That soil can be loose, it can fall up inside the borehole. So to some depth you need a temporary guide casing, which you can remove after the installation of the concrete. Then you start the boring using the auger, what I shown here. Using this auger, you start the boring activity. After the boring, you have to clean the debris, so you do the flushing. After flushing, then you start to lower the reinforcement cage, and once the reinforcement cage is lowered, then you start filling the cage, this entire borehole with concrete with the help of this trummy pipe. This is the funnel through which the concrete is poured, and these are the trummy pipes. So this trummy pipes comes like say around at a length of like 3 meters and all, and you keep on connecting this pipe, and till greater depths you can fill the concrete, and once as you move up, you can remove this pipe. So this is detachable pipes, these trummy pipes, and ultimately after filling the concrete, then you keep it for, then you wait for curing, and you do the other integrated test and all after the concreting is done. So that is the entire process involved in the board cast in situ pile. Now generally for small depths we need not go for this board piles, because if there is if the pile is terminating at a very small depth, that means there is not much overburden. Within that overburden you are installing the pile, then you need not go for board piles. Generally we use board piles for large depths, like say 20 meter, 30 meter, etc. We go for board piles. So again, board piles are very effective only when you have a bedrock. In bedrock, that entire pile gets locked into the bedrock, the tip of the pile, and the structure is very safe. And also there are situations where you cannot use these driven piles. So already I mentioned that the cross section and the length is limited because you are casting it somewhere outside. So because of that limitations, and also whenever you need large capacity piles like large diameter and all, like 1 meter, 1.2 meter piles, diameter piles, and the depth is like say 25-30 meters and all, obviously you will have to go for board piles. So board piles are generally more applicable. That means for any structural conditions you can go for board piles. So that is all from this part. Now in the next class I will be dealing with the how the loads are calculated, the loads coming onto the piles are calculated, and how you design the pile. All these aspects will be covered in the next lecture.